When Kate Williams first opened the envelope, her heart nearly stopped. For a long moment, she just sat on the edge of her narrow bed, the cream-colored letter trembling in her hands. The thick paper with the royal seal seemed so out of place in her small council flat. Around her, the room was plain but neat. A faded blue quilt on the bed, a wooden dresser that tilted slightly to one side, and a few photos of children smiling from simple frames. How could this letter be real? It had been 3 weeks since. The postman arrived at her door, looking confused, holding the special envelope. "Are you really Kate Williams? Is this the right address?" he had asked. She had signed for it with shaking hands, thinking it might be some mistake. Why would someone like her, a social worker with no titles, no fame, receive a letter from the palace? Kate had spent her life helping others, never expecting praise or reward. Each morning, she woke early, ate a quick breakfast of tea and toast, and walked to the community center. Her tiny office there was packed with papers and case files. Her phone rang all day with calls from families in trouble. You earned just enough to cover rent and food, but that never mattered to her. The work was her life. That particular Tuesday, she had come home exhausted after helping an old woman named Mrs. Peterson avoid a legal eviction. Kate had spent hours on the phone with housing offices, lawyers, and shelters. When she saw the envelope, she almost threw it away, thinking it was more government paperwork. But curiosity won now. As her eyes read the words again and again, her breath caught in her throat. The Queen's Award for Voluntary Service. She was being invited to Windsor Castle to be honored by the Queen herself. It felt impossible. Someone had nominated her for her work with homeless families and vulnerable children. Her first reaction was disbelief. She read the letter 5 times before the words began to feel real, and then the nerves came. How could she, plain Kate from Bradford, stand in front of the Queen? She had never even been to London, except for a school trip at age 12. The days after were a blur, she told her supervisor, who squealed with joy. Her neighbors insisted on taking her out for fish and chips to celebrate. But inside, Kate couldn't shake the feeling that it was all a mistake. Surely someone would call to say they had the wrong person. Her sister Emma visited the next weekend to help her find something to wear. The shops in town felt too expensive, too grand. At last they found a simple black dress in a charity shop. It cost £15, fit perfectly. Elegant but not too flashy, just like Kate. Still, doubt crept in. At night, Kate would wake from strange dreams, tripping in front of the Queen, saying the wrong thing. She borrowed books from the library to learn proper royal manners. How deep should she curtsy? What should she say? How should she hold her handbag? 2 weeks before the ceremony, another letter arrived with detailed instructions. She would need to arrive at a special entrance at exactly 2 p.m. There would be security checks, short rehearsal, and then the main event. Reading it made everything feel more real and more terrifying. On the night before the ceremony, Kate could hardly sleep. She laid out her dress, polished her shoes, and packed her small handbag. Her flat was silent except for the ticking of the clock. She kept thinking, do I really belong there? Are they sure they meant me? Morning came. Too soon. The sky was gray as Kate dressed carefully and caught the early train to London. The countryside sped past her window. She clutched her invitation with trembling fingers. Her heart pounded louder with each mile. At London Paddington Station, she fought through crowds of busy people in sharp suits and designer clothes. She followed the route she had practiced, changing to the train for Windsor. The castle, when it appeared, took her breath away. It looked like something from a fairy tale. Kate joined the line of guests. Some looked polished and confident. Others, like her, seemed nervous and unsure. Guards in red uniforms stood at attention. Cameras clicked. Curious tourists peered from behind barriers. When her turn came at security, she handed over her invitation with shaking hands. The guard smiled. Kindly. "Welcome to Windsor Castle, Miss Williams," he said. Inside. The gardens were more beautiful than she could have imagined. Green lawns, bright flowers, ancient stone walls. Everything was perfect, as if from a dream. but Kate still felt one thing deep inside. What am I doing here? She had no idea what the day would bring, or how one small moment would move an entire room, even the Queen herself. Kate's heart was racing as she followed the other guests through the castle's grand halls. Each step echoed on the stone floors. She could hardly believe this was really happening. Thick carpets, golden chandeliers, and tall portraits of kings and queens made her feel like she had stepped into another world, a world where she didn't belong. What if I trip? She kept thinking, what if I do something wrong? What if I make a fool of myself in front of the Queen? The palace official guided them into a large reception room. Kate stood quietly in the corner, her hands clutching her small black handbag. All around her, the other guests were chatting confidently. Their voices were full of important words: charity galas, fundraisers, government ministers. Next to her stood a tall woman in an expensive navy dress. Herself as Margaret Thornfield. I run a charity for music education, Margaret said with a proud smile. We've raised over £2 million so far. Kate's cheeks flushed. What could she say? That she spent her days filling out housing forms? That she made late night phone calls, trying to find safe beds for homeless children? Compared to these grand projects, her work felt so small. Another man joined the conversation, Sir Robert Pimpton. He spoke easily of his travels, his meetings with world leaders, the dozens of schools his foundation had built across Africa. Kate shrank back, feeling more and more out of place. Her heart pounded. Why am I here? She wondered again. Just then, a palace official entered. It is time, he announced. Please follow me to the throne room. Kate's breath caught. Her legs felt shaky as she followed the others. Through long hallways they walked, past golden doors and statues. Finally, they entered the throne room. It was the most beautiful room Kate had ever seen. The ceiling rose high above, covered in gold leaf. Sunlight streamed through tall windows. The Queen's throne sat on a raised platform, draped in rich red velvet. Rows of chairs were set for the guests. Kate was shown to a seat in the third row. She looked around. Business leaders, politicians, and celebrities filled the room. Many seemed to know each other. They spoke with smiles and laughter. Kate sat very still, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Her simple black dress now felt plain next to the designer outfits. Her stomach twisted. Then the great doors opened. A hush fell over the room. The Queen entered. Kate could barely breathe. The Queen looked just as she did in the photographs, yet somehow more human, more real. Her gentle smile, her graceful walk, it was all so unexpected. The Queen sat on her throne. The ceremony began. One by one, names were called. Each recipient rose, walked confidently to the front, bowed or curtsied, and received their award. Kate watched in awe. Sir Robert was called first. He moved with ease, as if he belonged in this grand place. He bowed deeply. The Queen pinned the medal on his jacket, speaking quietly to him. Margaret Thornfield followed, her navy dress flowing as she walked. Her curtsy was perfect. She accepted her medal with a beaming smile. Kate's heart pounded harder with each name. Her mouth felt dry. I can't do this, she thought. I'll forget what to do. I'll embarrass myself. She thought of the small office back in Bradford, the battered desk covered in papers, the families who came to her, desperate for help. Ta-ta! Children who hugged her after finding a safe place to sleep. She thought of Mrs. Davies, the kind social worker who had helped her years ago. The woman who made Kate believe she could go to university, who showed her that one person really can change a life. Now Kate was here, in this palace, about to stand before the Queen. For them, for everyone she had helped. Suddenly, her name was called Miss Kate Williams. The room seemed to grow silent. Kate's heart leapt to her throat. Her legs felt like jelly as she stood. Her mind spun. She lowered her head, took one careful step, then another. The long walk to the front of the room felt endless. All eyes were on her. Just don't fall, she told herself. Just breathe. As she neared the Queen, something unexpected happened. The Queen's gentle gaze met hers. Warm, kind, understanding. Kate's throat tightened. Emotion rose within her. Tears pricked her eyes. She lowered her head deeply. In respect, the room was utterly silent. No whispers, no movement. Even the monarch seemed moved. No one yet knew something powerful was about to happen. A simple act that would touch the entire room. Kate's name still echoed in her ears. Her legs trembled with each step. The throne room felt larger now. Every face turned toward her. Cameras clicked softly. 1,000 eyes followed her. She kept her head slightly down as she had read in the books. But inside her heart was racing. Her throat was dry. Each breath felt heavy. What if she stumbled? What if she forgot what to say? She thought again of the small lives she had touched, Jenny Morrison and her 3 little children. The elderly man with no family, the frightened teenager escaping abuse. They had given her strength all these years. Now she needed that strength. More than ever, as she reached the foot of the throne, she stopped. The queen sat before her, calm, graceful, watching her closely. For a moment, time seemed to slow. Kate remembered. A curtsy first, her knees bent slightly. She lowered her head, but just as she rose, a wave of emotion swept over her. Her voice caught, her chest tightened. All the years of quiet work, the struggles, the sleepless nights, the lonely walks home after dark, they all flooded back at once. She had never asked for thanks, never expected this moment. Suddenly the tears she had tried so hard to hold back came. Her shoulders shook slightly. Soft gasp escaped her lips. A ripple of surprise moved through the room. Some guests shifted in their seats, and no one expected this. The queen, however, did not look away. Her expression softened. Her eyes, wise and gentle, met Kate's tear-filled gaze. Then, something no one expected happened. The queen rose. Gasps whispered. Through the audience, even the photographers lowered their cameras, unsure what to do. In all the grand ceremonies, in all the years of tradition, the queen rising from her throne was rare, almost unheard of. She stepped forward, her eyes still. On Kate, then, with the lightest touch, the queen took Kate's hand. The room held its breath. Every eye watched. The air itself seemed still. Kate looked up, her tears still falling. Her voice barely a whisper. I never thought I would be here. The queen smiled gently. You are here, Miss Williams, because you deserve to be. Your work matters. It touches lives. And today, we honor that. Kate's knees almost gave way. No grand words could come to her lips, only a soft thank you, Your Majesty. The queen gave her hand a small squeeze, then took the medal and pinned it to Kate's dress. The applause began softly. Then it grew louder, stronger. The whole room stood. A standing ovation for a simple woman from Bradford. Kate's eyes widened in shock. She had dreamed of staying unnoticed, of quietly receiving her award. Now the entire room was clapping for her. In the back, even Sir Robert Pimpton wiped a tear from his eye. Margaret Thornfield, elegant and poised, was clapping with real warmth. Cameras clicked again, capturing the moment. Journalists exchanged surprised glances. No one had expected this quiet social worker to touch the room so deeply. Kate stood, barely able to breathe. For one small second, her mind flashed back to her childhood. A foster child, moving from home to home. A young girl told again and again that she wouldn't amount to much. And now, this Dot. As she slowly stepped back to her seat, the queen's soft words still echoed in her heart. You are here because you deserve to be. Kate sat, her hands trembling, tears still wet on her cheeks. Around her, the other guests looked at her with new eyes, eyes full of respect and kindness. The ceremony continued. More names were called. More medals were given. But something had changed. Kate had reminded them, reminded everyone, that true service did not need fame or fortune or grand speeches. Sometimes it was the quiet work, the unseen efforts. That meant the most. As the final recipient was called, Kate sat quietly, her heart still full. She did not yet know, but this day, this moment, would soon spread far beyond the walls of the palace. The story of the humble social worker who moved the queen herself was about to travel the world. Kate Williams sat quietly as the last recipient was called. Her heart was still racing. Her hands trembled softly in her lap. Around her, the applause for the final honoree faded, but the room had not returned to its earlier calm. There was a new feeling now, something hard to describe. Guests kept glancing at Kate with warm smiles, nods of respect. Some whispered quietly. Others blinked away tears. Something had changed. Kate herself felt dazed. She could still feel the gentle squeeze of the Queen's hand. The words echoed in her mind, "You are here because you deserve to be." She had no idea what would happen next. She only hoped to slip away quietly once the event ended. But fate had other plans. As the ceremony closed, several members of the Queen's staff approached Kate. One smiled softly. "Miss Williams, Her Majesty has asked if you would stay for." A few moments after the reception, Kate's breath caught. Stay. But why? What could the Queen possibly want with me? Guests began to file out of the throne room. Many stopped to shake Kate's hand. "Well done," whispered Margaret Thornfield. "Truly well deserved." Sir Robert Pimpton gave her a kind nod. "An inspiration," he said simply. Kate barely knew what to say. The weight of the moment pressed on her chest. She followed them. Staff down a quiet hallway, her shoes clicking softly on the polished floor. Finally, they reached a small drawing room, and they're standing gracefully by a window. Was the Queen herself? Kate's heart stopped. She froze, unsure what to do. The Queen smiled warmly. "Please, Miss Williams, come in." Slowly, nervously, Kate stepped forward and lowered her head again. But the Queen spoke gently. "No need for more formality. You have already done more today than many will do in a lifetime." Kate's throat tightened. Her voice came out as a soft whisper.
"Your Majesty, I don't know what to say."
The Queen looked kindly at her.
"Say nothing.
"Just know this. People like you are the heart of this country. You remind us of what truly matters."
Kate blinked back fresh tears.
"Thank you," she managed. The Queen's eyes twinkled. "And now, I believe others should hear your story too." Kate's brow furrowed in confusion. "Others?" "Journalists will ask questions," the Queen said gently. "Be honest about them. Why you do what you do. The world needs more like you." Before Kate could reply, there was a soft knock on the door. A palisade entered and whispered something. The Queen nodded. "Double quotes come," she said to Kate. They returned to the main reception hall. There a small group of reporters waited. Cameras clicked. Microphones were raised. At first, Kate shrank back. But then she remembered why she was here, not for herself, but for those without a voice. She stepped forward. One reporter asked, "Miss Williams, what does this moment mean to you?" Kate's voice trembled, but she spoke from the heart. "I do what I do because there are people out there who need help. Children without homes, mothers with nowhere to go, elderly people with no family. I can help even one person feel safe, then it's worth everything." Another asked, "What did the Queen say to you?" Kate's eyes shone with fresh tears. She told me, "I deserve to be here." A hush fell over the room. Cameras clicked again. Reporters scribbled quickly. The story would spread. That night, newspapers across the country ran headlines. "Humble social worker moves the Queen to rise tears in the throne room." Kate Williams' powerful moment the next day. Messages poured in. Letters, emails, calls from strangers. From other social workers, from mothers, from teachers, from people who had long felt unseen. Kate returned to Bradford quietly. But now her small office felt different. The phone rang with new voices, people wanting to help, to volunteer, to donate, and at the community center, families she helped hugged her tightly. "We saw you on the news," one little boy said. "You were so brave." Kate smiled. Softly, she hadn't sought fame. She didn't want glory. But now she knew, sometimes, even the smallest voice could echo far beyond what anyone imagined. And somewhere in the palace a queen remembered one humble social worker, reminded a nation what truly matters.